Rising from the rubble, a lone girl stands tall amidst the flames of war. Utter distraught bleeds into her face. This is the expression of someone who is betrayed by a system that broke her. This girl is Hina Sorasaki, one who must deal with an unbearable burden. Blue Archive is a game of blinding optimism, one where its problems get neatly resolved. Hina is the one character who is unable to live with that optimism. That's what happens when the solutions are unclear. Hina is a girl without hope in a world that exudes it like any other. But is her pessimism justified? Blue Archive takes place in a city called Kivotos, where student councils are responsible for important political decisions. Hina attends Gehenna, a school defined by chaos. Its leader, Makoto, stands by this philosophy. As Hina is the leader of the prefect team, the two exist in a constant tug of war. One enforces the rules, while the other stays in power without doing anything. Sensei stands right in the middle. No student should be left behind. But what happens when a choice has to be made? No group better represents the corruption of Gehenna more than the Gourmet Research Society, a terrorist organization hell-bent on crafting the greatest possible meal. They achieve this through kidnapping Fuka and forcing her to make meals out of stolen ingredients. Their harm is best shown when they invade Trinity. Trinity is the long-standing rival of Gehenna, a school that believes in full order. Through their invasion, the Gourmet Research Society is causing harm on 3 different levels. They're harming Trinity, Fuka, but also Hina herself. Without Hina, political conflicts with other schools would only further escalate. Unlike others, Hina's given up on the chance that this could be changed. Ultimately, Makoto's chaos and Hina's desired freedom are incompatible. If the Gourmet Research Society is free, then that comes at the expense of Fuka. Freedom is a paradox. Aru is an infamous and feared individual known for her rampant streak of dastardly crime. That's what she wants you to think, but her plans rarely go accordingly. After all, she's ultimately too good of a person to take anything too far. While Haruka anxiously affirms her delusions, Mitsukiyo and Kyoko constantly humble her with teasing and apathy. Any other school wouldn't allow them to exist, but here, they can be free. But to what extent? The members of Problem Solver 68 hardly make enough money to live. Their freedom comes with the limits of their own responsibilities. In a sense, despite being a frequent target of Hina, they're surprisingly similar. But it never feels like that. This is because Aru chose to live this life. She could abandon it at any second. At any point, Mitsukiyo, Kyoko, or Haruka could leave her behind. And yet, they never do. That's because they're family. While Hina is much stronger than Aru, her relationship to her club is much looser. When Hina is busy elsewhere, the prefect team has to apprehend Problem Solver 68. Here, Akko goes against Hina's wishes. Akko believes that Gehenna needs to change. Her belief in optimism conflicts with Hina's pragmatism. If anyone were to agree with Akko, it would be the students that Haruka just bombed. Like the prefect team, the foreclosure task force is saddled with one of the biggest burdens in Kivotos. It's understandable why they dislike Problem Solver 68. Hoshino, unlike Aru, didn't choose her responsibility. However, unlike Hina, that responsibility doesn't make her lonely. Contrary to Akko, the Foreclosure Task Force doesn't go against their leader Hoshino, even in her absence. This is because Hoshino and Aru share a crucial similarity. Neither of them lead clubs. What they lead are families. That's why they defend Problem Solver 68, even after what they did. Of course, Hina never picks up on this. She sides with the Foreclosure Task Force, choosing not to overstep her bounds, a stark contrast to the rest of the Prefect team. It's only later that the story properly challenges Hina's pragmatism. The Eden Treaty is a peace treaty between Trinity and Gehenna, serving to end their rivalry. Volume 3 is set in Trinity's perspective, exploring Nagisa's desire to pass the treaty at all costs. Hina stands right with her in this desire. She insisted on it so hard that even Makoto gave in. Hina doesn't trust that Makoto will go through with this. However, she still lets herself feel hope. Hope that she can finally retire. It's a moment that reveals the core of Hina's character. It's obvious that she's kind. No one who isn't kind would do what she does. However, she's not virtuous. She doesn't want to make the world any better than it is. All she wants is to prevent it from falling apart. Outside of her work, Hina becomes something different. Sensei is the one figure of authority above her. He teases her in unexpected ways, but most importantly, gives her someone to complain to. Hina's Momotalks are so effective not just because of those funny, teasing moments. They hit so hard because they show the small, burnt-out girl beneath the armor. They make it extremely clear why the Eden Treaty gives her hope, even in something that she knows she cannot trust. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Makoto never planned on signing the Eden Treaty. To her, it spits in the face of her beliefs. Makoto claims to be an arbiter of chaos, but does she actually believe in that? Iroha would argue not. Iroha is the only member of the Pandemonium Society that sees through Makoto. She recognizes that she cannot change this, but still makes her position known. The reason why is because of Ibuki. Ibuki may be a child, but she too is able to see through Makoto due to Iroha. This puts Ibuki and Iroha in a position of benefiting from a system that they know is wrong. Volume F is the story where the fate of Kivotos itself is at stake, and the only time Makoto ever chooses to do anything is when it involves making Ibuki happy. Ibuki's will is more important to her than saving the world. Ibuki knows this is wrong, but like Iroha, has accepted that there's nothing she can do to change it. In a sense, both characters are similar to Hina. All three represent different pragmatic beliefs. Hina becomes absorbed in chaos, while Iroha detaches herself from it, and Ibuki chooses to enjoy it. This is the kind of position that Makoto forces on others. She claims to love chaos, but her actions suggest that she may only love what it does for her and Ibuki. Makoto doesn't seem to believe in chaos because she sees it as a virtue, but rather because it frees her of responsibility. Makoto, however, seemingly fails to understand this. If she did, she'd sign the Eden Treaty. Because of Hina, she's able to live this life of luxury, and yet she still hates what Hina does. How could she not hate the very person that exposes her contradiction? Instead of recognizing this, she stubbornly chooses to prevent the Eden Treaty from getting signed, only for her short-sightedness to result in a betrayal of her own. And that's exactly how we got to this point. Hina's anger did not come from trusting Makoto. It's something far more painful. It's anger that stems from putting hope into something that she knew she could not trust, and getting betrayed for it. Beyond Makoto, she's mad at herself for letting these illogical emotions get the best of her. Because Hina is kind, she doesn't want anyone to share her burdens. She wants Akko to believe in the hope that she is lost. It's tragic, because this isolation only feeds into Makoto's power. Hina becomes forced to rely on the unreliable. When giving up, Hina mentions her envy of Hoshino. Her and Hoshino carry similar responsibilities, but Hoshino remains tolerant of her burden. In Volume 1, Hina couldn't fathom why. But suddenly, 2 simple words from Sensei change all of that. Thank you. Hoshino carries on, because Abydos is like a family to her. Their gratitude allows her to keep on fighting. Hina is thanked too, but not in the same way. The prefect team may be a virtuous thing, but it's also a job. People expect Hina to maintain order. That's why no one truly praises her. That's why even Sensei forgot to do so. Sensei assumed that being there would be enough. He should have known that was not the case. But even he has limits. That's why this moment comes off more as an apology for never spoiling her like she wanted. Sensei's words may not seem like much, but they mean the world. Hina burnt out because she didn't want to drag anyone into her suffering, nor did she expect anyone to praise her for it. However, burdens must be shared. When you look at the end of Hina's character arc, hardly anything actually gets changed. Makoto's still allowed to govern a system that hurts countless. This exposes Sensei's deepest contradiction. He's a character defined by 2 beliefs. No student should be left behind, and all students should be treated equally. Volume 2, however, shows that Sensei will choose a side when the stakes are high enough. The conflict between Arisu and Ryo ends neatly in Volume F. It's the one part of the story where Sensei hardly intervenes. Otherwise, he's the reason why conflicts get resolved. He's the one who saved Hoshino in Volume 1, and the one who freed the Arya squad from their abuse in Volume 3. In both stories, he was able to do this because adults were the abusers. Blacksuit and Beatrice are both people who should know better, which is what allows Sensei to stop them without any hesitation. His ideals get messier though, when a student is the one in power. In Volume 2, Sensei wound up lucky that Ryo viewed her pride as a burden. To Makoto, it's preservation. This is what makes Makoto so terrifying. Sensei's most impactful line, that he'll give his students infinite chances, is meaningless when all Makoto will do is take advantage of that kindness. I can't say whether Makoto can or can't be redeemed, but I do know that Sensei is far from the best candidate for it. Truly, that's his biggest tragedy. There is no student more similar to Sensei than Hina. Both are saddled with the same unbearable burden. Neither of them can do anything to change the corrupt system of Gehenna. Sensei is almost never a flawed character. Even without a halo, he still solves every problem that comes his way, or at least helps his students solve them for him. That's what makes Hina stand out so much to him. She's the one person that he's powerless to completely save. Because they're so similar, however, he never thought she needed saving. He also doesn't view Makoto the same way that she does. Throughout the story, the game never frames Makoto the way that I have. While her actions may result in misery, every scene involving Makoto is actually quite funny. No matter which way you look at it, Makoto is deeply endearing. This is a major difference between Sensei and Hina. Because his authority is so high, he can see Makoto as a lovable goofball rather than a tyrant. This is the double-edged sword that makes Sensei's morality more debatable than he claims it to be. On one hand, his kindness allows him to see the good in every student. On the other hand, it results in students like Hina getting overlooked. Worse, it prevents them from being able to even see how she feels about Makoto. Hina doesn't hate Makoto in a vengeful way, but rather as the source of her isolation. As a result, Sensei has to make some form of compromise when helping her. His compromise isn't to change Makoto, but rather to show Hina exactly how he handles his responsibility. Because they are so similar, they require the same solution. Burden can only be turned into responsibility once it's shared with others. Blue Archive is a game of blinding optimism. Hina's character arc is one of the game's best, because it's the moment where Sensei has to confront his biggest contradiction. Hina's pragmatism is not only valid, it's the correct response to her situation. This is an idea that runs completely contrary to Blue Archive's usual philosophy, but it somehow feels the most real. If even Sensei has to get dragged into it, then how could it not be? Sometimes the system itself is just fundamentally corrupt. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. I think this is why Hina resonates so strongly with not only me, but the rest of the Blue Archive community. Her struggles are deeply relatable because she's never the one in the spotlight. Like us, a generation fighting a horrendous economy, numerous mental health issues, and mass political instability, she always gets the short end of the stick, while the powerful get to indulge in constant pleasure. That burnout she feels is where the relatability really hits home for me. I entered a YouTube hiatus because I needed to take back control over my own life. It's interesting that I can relate to Hina despite having the opposite problem as her. Everyone relies on Hina, while I remain reliant on everyone else. No matter how much work I do, I feel like I always come back to the same starting point. I keep trying and trying, but burning out is almost inevitable when I keep getting burned. Under these circumstances, it'd be easy to give up entirely, to nihilistically view Hina's character arc as a tortured soul who can never recover. However, this interpretation goes against what I think makes it so beautiful. It's right to believe these negative thoughts, but the correct response should never be nihilism. So what if nothing matters? What a bullshit excuse to engage in Makoto sloth. Life isn't easy, life isn't comfortable, and life isn't predictable. The suffer is an inevitability. It hurts. It hurts so goddamn much. I hate that I understand why someone wouldn't want to live through that. I'm past those feelings now, but I've been there before. People don't make sense. They're difficult to understand, uncomfortable to be around, and the epitome of unpredictability. But they'll also share your burdens. People exist to relate to your suffering, and to let you swallow your pride. The world isn't easy, so when you meet someone that knows that just as well, things suddenly become a lot easier. Ultimately, it's that push that makes doing kind things so much easier. It's that push that makes it easier to fight for yourself even in a broken system. After all, only you can control yourself. That's why Hina's character arc means so much to me. Like her, my life isn't solved, but with her story, that burden feels just a little bit more bearable.